Working Interferences is intended for mature audiences. Since the hosts never grew up, someone needs to be the adult.
Welcome to Working Interferences with Lance
and Holly,
the dental advice podcast for the average dentist. Here is Lance
and Holly. Okay, so
part 2 of traveling with Lance and Holly.
This is why we've considered making a travel YouTube channel, because we have a lot to say.
Had a shitstorm of shit.
And it's a little bit more of a visual medium, so we could show pictures of what we're talking about and everything. So
we're just trying to get us to ideas. So we went to Strasbourg.
So I had such a good time in Spain taking cooking classes that I got using Viator. I got a thing in Cologne for a cooking class and Strasbourg for a cooking class. And the Cologne one got canceled because it was put on by a student and it must be class time or whatever. So I kept trying to register and it kept getting canceled. So I changed to a wine tasting thing. But in Strasbourg, I knew I had that at... was that at noon on?
Yeah, it was a morning time sometime.
Or was it like 10 a.m.? It was a Tuesday, and it was like 10. I think it was at 10 because it seemed a little early for some of it. But we
were having breakfast wine. That's all I remember. I was like, okay.
So we had to meet near the small version in the Park Austerlitz is where they had a miniature... I don't know what you call this brass version of the city.
It's basically a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so you could look down and see this town in miniature version of it. And it was raining at the time, so we sat underneath the awning at the Irish pub until the person showed up to take us to our cooking class. Well, once we got assembled and we went to the first location, I realized this is not a cooking class. I thought I registered for a cooking class, but it was just a gastronomy tour of Strasbourg. And I'm like, okay, I think I registered for the cooking class in Cologne first, and then I want to do something in Strasbourg, and thought I was getting a cooking class, but it was good enough. It was not a cooking class. So it was fine. So we started off, the very first place we were at, they had, you could taste some beer, taste some wine, and it had 5 different sausages to
salamis
to taste.
Pretzels.
And some pretzels, yeah. And so that was...
It was cool. There was a woman from Toronto that we got to know, and then a couple from Australia. And the girl leading our tour guide, she was actually from Strasbourg.
Yeah,
so
she was a student, college-age student.
Yeah, she was getting ready to graduate.
Yeah. And so those that don't know, Strasbourg has been both German and French, depending on who's in power. So a lot of German influence in architecture and in foods. There's just a lot of...
Yeah, it's very much a crossover.
Yeah. So it was very, very unique to experience Strasbourg. So I knew of Strasbourg from living in France and things, but I'd never been. So I was very excited when we checked into the Maison Rouge.
Okay.
So
just so you know, again, we're in a walking city.
Well, this island, because there was a lot of cars there too, but where our GPS took us was not where you're supposed to drive.
And roads were closed.
So the middle of Strasbourg, where we were, is an island. And so islands are already a challenge.
Lance is getting mad. He's swearing.
So we just park. I'm like, fuck it. We're just parking. Leave our bags and everything. Let's just go find the fucking hotel. And we found the fucking hotel. This is Monday night. It's getting later. So it's like 8 o'clock at night. So it wasn't that late, but it was dark.
Yeah.
It just turned dark.
And
it started to rain.
Where we were going, and it started to rain.
So we finally used the GPS and
kind of like
walk around.
Everything that could happen with Holly is happening. She's hungry. She's getting rained on. We don't know where we're going. And she's full on irritated.
That's a fun mixture. So we finally find the Maison Rouge, this hotel. It's one of the Marriott Bonvoy group, one of those AC levels. So those that know the tiers of
really nice.
Marriott. It was a nice place. When I checked in, I said, can I just add a day? I'm tired of checking in and then checking right out, because we did that in Colmar, and it would be nice just to add a day. So
we did.
The guy said, cool. And so that made it so much nicer, because when so then you're like, let's Google for food. I'm like, let's just eat at the hotel. Let's just, whatever they got here, let's just do that, because then we don't have to worry about them closing. But we needed to get our bags. So then we had to go walk back. And then in the meantime, it was even darker than when we first walked. I knew it was over here.
I'm like, we're going the wrong way. The whole time I was like, we're going the wrong way.
And I knew we were going the right way. We just weren't on the right street.
We were going the wrong way.
No, we went the right way. Because then when we looked down the alley, I'm like, oh, there's the parking lot right there. So it wasn't like I went east when we should have gone west.
True.
It was like we were parallel.
You went straight when you should have gone east.
No. We needed to go west both times.
All right.
We just were one street over.
All right.
Because looking down the alley, there's the parking lot. So we got the car. Well, then we're like, we actually need to move the car. And so, but I knew that the GPS was going to keep telling me to drive where you're not allowed to. So I said, we just need to get across the bridge, get on the other side, and get to the main street and just drive around a little bit and then pay attention to the GPS. Because at that point, it'll take us to the parking lot that we needed to go to. And Sebastopol parking lot. And so we finally did that. Of course, as I tried to go down a road, it dead-ended. And the car behind me was following me, so I had to wait for him to get out of my way so I could turn around. And we finally got off that fucking island and got around to the main road and then went north of where we were supposed to be and then dropped down into the parking lot that it was only 200 feet from where we needed to go. So as we get up the elevator, we get on the cobblestones and I start just walking over and then trying to use my GPS to tell me where to go. We start walking along, and then I see a big square. Well, I knew we were over there, so we kind of do diagonal through the square. I didn't learn till the next day that our parking lot was right next to the hotel, and we had walked in a big circle to check in. So
luggage on cobblestone, too, is not a fun thing. Just everybody
it's not easy.
No, I don't work out enough for that.
No, it was not fun. So we finally get our bags in the room. We drop everything off. It's actually a pretty nice room.
Super nice room. Great view. And then we went down to the restaurant. Great food. And it was from
1342 or
48 or something like that. That was the year that it had originated it. And it was like, holy shit, this is like
it's been renovated since then, but
it's like 5 times older than my country.
Yeah. It's amazingly old. And
it's interesting. The one thing that I found that was really interesting about Strasbourg and Germany is when they had remnants from the war. So you had a building that came down, but there was still like a partial wall up. They didn't tear down the wall like they would in America. Mm-hmm. They built around it and incorporated that wall into the whatever wall is there now. Mm-hmm. And I just loved that, where you would be walking and you would see like a third of a wall of old rock brick or whatever, just kind of staring out of this plaster wall. Mm-hmm. And it was like they had just incorporated it as part of, this is our country. This is our city. And the city has a past. Mm-hmm. And it was like you couldn't go very far before you saw something like that. And I liked that, where in America, they're like, oh, it's falling down, just tear it down. Just fucking start from scratch. Yeah. We have no history here.
Probably some building code of safety. That's why we would tear it down.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, fuck safety. That's beautiful. Keep the beauty.
But I thought that was interesting because they had that in Strasbourg and they had that in Cologne. And I really liked that.
Yeah. The Strasbourg Cathedral was beautiful. It had kind of a red tint to it because they were using the stones that they took from the quarry in the Vosges Mountains, the eastern part of France. The natural border, the reason why that they kept changing borders is because the Vosges Mountains to the west of Strasbourg was the eastern border of Germany at one point, but then when they changed the border on the other side, east or the western border of Germany, then they moved the border to the other side of Strasbourg. So now the Vosges was just within France. But anyway, the stone themselves had sort of a kind of a red tint. So the cathedral looked kind of reddish.
Beautiful. Super. I mean,
amazing
Strasbourg
Gothic.
was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah. So we did the walking tour and we walked around the cathedral. The girl that was our guide, her high school was right across the parking lot from the cathedral.
We got to go see her high school.
Yeah, we were walking by and she goes, "This is my high school." I'm like,
"You're 10."
Yeah. Super beautiful little area. Then we walked down through the little streets to what was the next place we tasted food?
Was that
where we actually had the meal?
Oh,
because we had
it was like potatoes and onions and a hot dog.
Yeah,
and it wasn't great. That was kind of the.
It was the weakest of all the food we had, because then we left there and then walked along the river, and that's where we had the tarte aux pommes, the
pear and apple tart that they had. It was amazing. That was super good.
So we ordered another one. We'll pay for this.
And a bottle of wine. I don't think and we all thought that this was our last stop because it was our third one. So we thought the tour was over. It was not.
So we were late for the last part. But when they serve wine, it's these little itty bitty cups. It's like a goblet it's like a 2-ounce goblet. It doesn't carry much, and so barely poured any.
But they fill it all the way to the top, so you can't smell the wine. You can't really swirl it around. It's like you're just drinking it like you're drinking water.
Yeah, it's a beverage. It's not a typical way that we have it here. So we're like, thinking this is the last stop. Well, hey, we'll just buy another bottle and share. And so
our whole group was kind of like all in to do something like that. They were like, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we did.
She's finally, after they serve us the wine, and she's like, okay, well, we have one more stop. I'm like, we have one more stop?
Oh, shit. Oh,
sorry.
So we had to go to this gingerbread place. And gingerbread there is different than here. So she had, it was a whole little display, and she gave us all these different descriptions of like the 6 different varieties that she had. And her name was Mireille Orley.
I don't remember what her name was, but she basically
super nice
talked to us about all the seasonings and spices.
That's right. She had a bottle of each ingredient.
Yeah.
Here's your cardamom. Here's your clove. Here's your all these different spices that would go into making the gingerbread. So, and they make candies. So we had these little candies that we purchased a couple, and it was cool. It was a great experience. Glad we didn't have to check out and worry about running back to the car and feed the meter or anything like that. But then we had the evening to find our way around.
Yeah, we went to a really great restaurant for dinner, and we just really tried to stay as authentic as we could with the culture.
Yeah.
And the food was so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So great. Nice combination between French and German. And it was amazing.
Yeah. So then the next morning we checked out, and we took our time, and we thought, and again, I'm like, you know what? You ever been to Luxembourg? And you're like, no. I'm like, well, it's kind of on the way. It's not really, but it is. So we drove up through Luxembourg and kind of got lost in this little...
It was a weird little town with really cool architecture. It was such a broad spectrum of architecture that it doesn't really fit.
Well, so the GPS just took me to like the pinpoint of the middle geographically of Luxembourg. Nothing specific. And it's just this big modern office building. I'm like, okay, well, so I just turned left. And then the road just kind of kept going and then went down a hill. So I started just kind of going down this hill. And all of a sudden, I'm on this river, and it looked like a really old village underneath this, well, down a hill from the modern stuff. And this town was just really cool. Of course, I found the dead end and had to back out and zigzag and everything. But it was a cool little area. So we kind of just zigzagged through. We found an old folks home that looked like a castle.
I was like, I want to come here and be old.
If I'm going to be an old person that's locked up, let me be locked up here. So, and then that's one thing that I did notice about the Europeans. They take care of their old better than the Americans do. Like in the Netherlands, it's just like an assignment or it's a requirement for the younger high school age people to go spend time at the old folks home and get to know them or help them or whatever. So you get the old people are taken care of. Yeah. And over here, they're just forgotten. So, which reminds me, I should go visit my mom. But
I was just thinking the same thing.
So after we spent a little time in Luxembourg, we finally listened to a podcast while we drove through the countryside and arrived in Cologne. And again, the stupid GPS took me to where you're not allowed to drive. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Fuck. So I just parked, and I knew that I was within a block. I said, it's over there somewhere. So we walked over and checked into this. Now, the location of our hotel was very centrally located, not far from the cathedral, right on the main street, the main little walking street to shop.
Nowhere near IDS.
No. Well, but I knew that.
I did not know that.
Right. I knew you wouldn't want to stay over by IDS because there's nothing there.
Yeah, there is nothing there. But I was like, when you're like, let's walk, I was like, okay.
So we checked in, got a bite to eat and everything. Now we had authentic German food. But the next morning when it was time to go to IDS, I knew it was a walk because I'd been there. But you agreed only because you didn't know.
Yep. I was like, okay, let's walk.
So we're walking across the bridge.
Over the river and through the woods.
And the Rhine,
house we go.
At this point, is a wide... It's like the Mississippi. It's wide.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Get all the way to the other side. The normal tunnel from the train station to the Cologne Oh is not far, but the tunnel to get there was closed, under construction. So we had to walk around.
Of course it was.
I really should have just taken a cab from there to Cologne Oh.
It was fucking forever.
So we finally get in. And because we came in from the other side, never entered Cologne Oh from the door number 4. So I didn't know where I was. And so we get inside and got everything situated. And now we start this big exhibition.
And I didn't really know what to expect. I'd seen pictures of it. And I don't generally like dental shows. And
she doesn't like dentists or dental shows or dentistry or anything dental.
And there's a billion people. And
this is huge.
It is so huge. And it's got...
I think they say there's 250,000 people there.
And there's break-offs for every country. So if there's a country you want to visit, you just can go to...
Building 5.
Yeah. But it was just walking through with you. People were like, hey, Lance. Everybody knew him. So everybody was stopping us. And we're taking pictures and it's like walking around with a fucking movie star. And I'm like, okay, I'm over him already. Let's go. And,
Holly is not a groupie of mine.
No. But we ran into some people that we've just known forever, like Armin. We ran into Armin. Mm-hmm. And
well, he had a booth, so I saw him. I'm like, oh, hey, there's Armin. So I ran over and...
We saw some really cool technology. The AI that's coming out is insane. Yeah. The robots, the weird girl robot.
So Skynet is sentient at this point. So be ready.
It was crazy. And then,
have you seen John Connor? Do you
know
where John Connor is? Okay.
I don't know what you're even talking about.
Terminator.
Oh. I wouldn't fucking know.
I know.
But it was, the best of the best and lab techs were there. Mm-hmm. We got to go to a couple parties with them, and
it's nice to know people because I wouldn't have gone to that thing, GC thing.
The funny thing that I always find is dentists post their work as if it's their work.
That's the thing, and you always wonder what the lab techs are thinking. Well, now we know.
Oh, now we totally know that they think you're all a bunch of full of shit. And if people knew for a second how shitty you actually were.
Well, like one lab tech was it Keith saying how some guy Keith does the diagnostic wax up and makes all the stuff, and so then the dentist just does an injection molding. It doesn't take a ton of skill to do what the dentist did. So then the dentist cleans it up and then posts it on Instagram saying, "Look at what I did." And Keith's like, "I did 95% of this.
Yeah.
You did the easy part."
But that's the thing that, I mean, because Lance and I are always incredibly grateful for the lab techs that we work with. We know that
I can't do shit without them.
Yeah. You're only as good as the lab tech you work with. And we got to hang out with some of the literal cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. And they were amazing. They were showing their processes. They were showing,
So GC had a big booth there, and they had different tables, and some of it were for some lab techs to sit there and demonstrate their use of the GC product.
Right.
And that's fascinating to see the talent involved.
It was just crazy. But like Lisa and Phil.
So Lisa
and
Johnson,
Peter.
she's up near Leeds. She's not in Leeds. Phil Reddington is in Leeds, has Beaver Dental Lab.
Peter
Harling's in, not sure what city he's in.
And Keith.
Up there in
We ended up hanging out with them a lot.
Yeah.
They're a nice party. They're a good fun party.
Good fun people to hang.
And
Simon was there as well.
oh, Simon, yes. Simon, he's a different level, as they all say.
Mm-hmm. So you scored him a coffee. We were at the Strawman area, and at 5 o'clock becomes happy hour, and so then instead of them just serving coffee and water and soft drinks,
I'm not a good person when you just tell me no.
Yeah, and Simon had just shown up, so he's tired and he just wants a coffee.
And he's not drinking.
But they're not serving coffee. It's happy hour now. We don't do coffee. And Holly's like,
hold my beer.
So she flags a lady down, says, "Hey, I want a coffee." "Oh, we're not doing coffee." No, you don't. No. I need a coffee now.
No, it was super nice. I said, I have a friend here who's not drinking. I really need you to just bring him a coffee. I don't want to have it be a big deal. And I would really appreciate it. And she's like, all right.
Yep.
She went and she brought him a coffee. And, but yeah, they were all so nice. The guy, the Japanese man, what was his name? Where everybody was just like incredibly like, oh my God, he's like a god in our industry.
Mitsuku. He's...
Yeah, I mean, these guys...
So I had a picture with him. Cause
these guys are so
I met him at a DTG
skilled.
thing 10 years ago, and so...
I just cannot even... I mean, the level of skill that these guys have is astounding. And I'm like, these guys are the ones that should be making the money, because y'all would be nothing without them.
Yeah, we can't do what we do without them doing their part. I don't want to try to do what they're doing, because it would...
Fun fact, all of these Englishmen that we knew had no idea that Stilton was a place.
Well, you were describing...
cheese.
So somehow you were describing... Because I was talking to Phil, and you were talking to
everyone else.
To Keith and Lisa over to my left.
Well, I was telling them about our road trip, and I'm like, yeah, then we went to Stilton, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, we went to Stilton. We got some cheese from a farm. They're like, what?
That's not a place.
I'm like, yes, it is. I was there. They're like, Stilton is not a place. Okay, all these people are from England.
Yeah.
And so the next
One guy had to Google it to look on the map.
They're all Googling it, and they're like, oh my God, it is a place.
Yeah, the only reason I knew because of the cheese shop skit from Monty Python. And they barely mention it. It's there, but that's why we ever went. So
all of us were just like, it is a place. We've been there. And they're like, well, what do you do there? I'm like, eat cheese. That's all you do there.
What else would you do?
And so that kind of became our theme for IDS was Stilton.
Well, Stilton.
Stilton is a place.
Stilton's real.
And it just was it was a great time. A great city.
Yeah, that place is old too.
Yes. We did a walking wine tour.
So Thursday is when we did all that and everything. My legs were tired on Friday. I'm like, you know what? I knew we have this wine tour at 3:00. I don't really want to go back to IDS today. So we didn't.
So we did this wine tour. We met Fun, very interesting. So we met in the town square, and we were watching, and all of these people were getting married at the city hall. And I thought, this is weird. I mean, this is a lot of people getting married. They like had this display on the outside where they could take pictures with flowers, and all the families were waiting outside. And finally, we meet up with our tour guide. And he's giving us kind of the lowdown of what's happening. He goes, well, you have to get married here or it's not a legal wedding. And so everybody gets married here, and then they move on to like their big reception of their party, or they move on to the church and then have a church ceremony or whatever. But they have to get married here in order for it to be legal. And we were like, oh, that's kind of weird. And he was kind of, there's little nuances in the town square, like they have a big, huge clock tower. You can see the big, huge cathedral. And against the wall, facing both of them, is a little man with his pants pulled down up in the corner. And he goes, you see that little man? And we're like, yeah. And he goes, that represents the people. And then you look at the clock tower, and he's like, do you see the pirate-ish man underneath sticking out his tongue? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, that's the government. So you've got the government sticking its tongue out at the people, and the people mooning the church.
So I guess the name of that guy mooning is the street shitter. And it was aimed towards the people and the church, because the cathedral was just beyond it. It was kind of a triangle.
You mean the government and the church?
Yeah.
Because it represented the people.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It just was interesting. So we took this walking tour.
So everybody can Google street shitter of Cologne.
Yeah.
That's where we
Fun
were.
little facts. Fun little facts with the Timmermans. So we start this walking tour with Derek, and super
Derek
nice
Mueller.
guy. He actually was from Boston, and he is dating somebody or married to somebody.
He's married to her now. Yeah.
That's German, and they live here. And so we're taking this walking wine tour, and he's giving us all the tidbits and information as we go along.
And what's interesting there, when we have the wine, we thought it was like a wine taste. Normally they pour like an ounce or less.
Yeah.
No, these are full glasses.
These are full glass. Like, we're going to be shit-faced after the first place we're going to.
Yeah.
And
we went to 2 places.
It
was supposed to be 2, but we ended up.
I think it was 3.
We did the 2 wines per place, and we did 4 wines.
Oh, okay.
And we went to that younger 20-year-old kid was our first bartender, and the older lady was our second bartender.
Okay. I can't remember.
And he had a really cool pamphlet or thing.
A folder that kind of gave maps.
With a map and explaining wine regions and where the grapes are grown and how they cultivate and what they're doing. So it was educational. It was really cool to understand, get a better idea of why.
I was the first time he had ever had someone who actually knew about wine.
He was intimidated.
On his tour. And I feel like I was very respectful.
But you were fine. It's just that he was like, I normally don't have to. Normally I could just bullshit it and no one would know.
Most people are just getting shit-faced and moving on. And I was like, oh no, we actually want to know about what's happening.
Yeah.
And so we did the wine, and it was only supposed to be like a 2-hour.
Yeah, it was from 3 to 5.
Okay. So we ended up leaving him at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
He ended up.
So this was also St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
So it became bigger because by 5 o'clock he was like, "Look, So he went to this place that has craft brew beers.
Yeah.
So we had a flight of little beers.
And he got me a hot dog because I really needed food in my stomach.
She was hungry, so he went nearby and got a brat.
Well, he got his food and was like, "Okay, this is how you should eat it, and this is why it's." XYZ, because he explained about the bread and the hot dog, and I'm like, I don't understand why the hot dog is 3 times longer than the bread.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, because bread is very important and it's wider, and he gave us all the details, and it was super fun. And he was having fun with us.
At this point it's like 6:30,
7 o'clock,
and at this point you'd been messaging the Lisa and the lab group that where we were, and they said where they were. So we made our way over to another brew house.
Brew house, yeah.
And
got some more food.
And they came with us, and there was a rep from Straumann was with them.
Yeah, and then another lab guy or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So we went and we hung out there for hours.
Until it shut down. They shut down at 10.
Yeah. So we're there till 10, but it was St. Patrick's Day, so it just seemed right that we find an Irish pub to go and have a Guinness. And so we meander around, and we finally find this Irish pub, and that's right when you got your phone call.
And I had to deal with some
So
stuff
then all of a
back
sudden,
home.
you're gone. He gets me a Guinness. I'm like, where's Holly? And I'm trying to find you, and I'm texting you. And I'm like, shit, where is she? This is not good.
She's a survivor. It'll be fine.
I mean, I figured you'd find your way, but where are you? So finally, you come in and you said, Lance, we got to go. Okay, well, I got to go. See you guys. And so our 2-hour tour with our guy ended up being like 9 hours.
Yeah.
So I said to you, I said, look, if he's not having a good time, he could leave at any moment.
Yeah.
So I don't think he feels obligated. I think he's just having a good time.
Yeah, it was it just was really fun. It was a really, really fun.
The whole group was great. Strawman bought us the brew house. Thanks. Shout out to Strawman. Thanks.
Yeah, shout out to Strawman for buying our shots.
Yeah. So then the next morning is when it was Saturday. At this point, this is the last day of IDS. And so we were making our way back. And then you insisted, you're like, we are not walking again. So we got a cab.
That got lost.
He's circling around the place trying to find, he ends up picking up another passenger as we're trying to get dropped off. And
it was a whole thing.
And then the fucker's credit card machine wasn't working.
Yeah. I'm like, all I have is American money. If you don't take, and he's like, well, I'll have to get that changed. I'm like, or you don't get paid. Take your pick.
Yeah.
I didn't make your credit card machine not work.
Yeah.
So you can either have American money and go change it. You're coming out ahead either way.
Yeah. I paid you $40 for a $20 ride. So knock yourself out.
I just need to get out of your cab before I hurt you.
Yeah. So we finished up. We walked around the area again. Saw a few more products and things. I liked the Norris group.
I have to say, we ran into Peter because Lisa had messaged me and she's like, have you seen Peter and Keith? I don't know if they got home last night. And I was like, oh my God. So we ended up running into Peter and Keith and I was like, oh my God, are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, I had my Paddington ticket. And I was like, what? So Peter pulls out his IDS badge and on the back it had the address, if lost, return to the address of
Take me here.
Of their hotel. He goes, I'm pretty sure I just gave this to the cab driver. This is how I got home. I was like,
but I mean, in hindsight, that's brilliant. I'm going to do that from now on.
Oh my God. It was so brilliant. You just have to remember that you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm here. Take me here.
But they were all coming around.
Yeah.
And then Lisa, she was so sick.
She was supposed to do a presentation.
But she was staying on the boat for DG.
GC had a boat.
Yeah, they had all of their reps staying on a boat, and she got motion sickness on top of her hangover, and it was a horrible circle, and she was in hell.
Yep.
But then we met up with all those guys on our last night, and
so then it was the last hurrah. So we had a few drinks. We went to
the pub.
We met them at the Irish pub
because they were watching
the rugby match. And then we made our way over to, where was it? Peter. No, it was.
And we went to the cathedral, which was spectacular. It reminded me of The Sound of Music when they have to go to the nunnery to escape the Nazis, and they're running through the nunnery. And this is what that cathedral was like. It was massive. It was amazingly massive.
Yeah, the cathedral in Cologne is very well known for just being big and beautiful, and there's a bit of soot on it, so it's kind of dirty, but it's old. You kind of expect that.
It's been around for a minute.
It's been around. So, I flew out of Dusseldorf, and so our flight was at 10 a.m. We had no idea how long it was going to take to get through anything like that. So we just left the place. Our place. It's a 30-minute drive. We left at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We could have gone later, but I
didn't trust it.
Since I haven't been to Dusseldorf before, I had no idea.
Because everything had been kind of a shitstorm. We were just like, I'm not risking it.
Let's just be safe.
We have to get home because we have patients tomorrow.
Yeah. And in hindsight, we probably should have done a late start or something, or come home the day before.
Fine.
If we came back Saturday, we would have had Sunday to relax and rest.
Then we would have missed Saturday in that one.
Exactly. That's the trade-off is all of that. Flying to do IDS, there's 2 airports you can choose from. The Dusseldorf airport is about half hour north, and the Cologne airport is about 15-20 minutes south. But from Seattle, there isn't anything that really goes there. So you have to do at least 2 connections to fly there. So what I've done in the past is I've landed in Amsterdam and rented a car and drove into Cologne. Or last time I did Frankfurt, which is a 2-hour drive. So at least Seattle to Frankfurt's direct. There's no connections or anything. But now I have to drive. I'm not sure when I did Frankfurt if there would have been a connection. I could have. Oh, last time when I was doing Frankfurt, I could have connected to go to Cologne, but I would have missed. Josh was doing a lecture, and so I wanted to get there in time. And the only way to make it was just get out in Frankfurt and drive instead of making a connection. So anybody planning to go to IDS, you can fly in closer than what I've done, but it may not be as convenient. And so, and I don't. When I did it last time, I flew in Wednesday night. I arrived by noon Thursday. Well, IDS is almost over at that point. And so with jet lag and everything, it was, I liked coming earlier to get over the jet lag so that when we were there, it was just kind of normal.
Because I feel like when you come home, you don't really have jet lag.
Coming home is easy.
Yeah. It's super easy to come home and just get back to your life.
Because when we came back from Spain, we got home by noon. And so we had all afternoon, evening to kind of acclimate, and then we actually went to bed by like 7.
You went to bed.
I was exhausted that Sunday night.
Part of it is you have a hard time sleeping on the planes, whereas I don't. I just go to sleep. I'm like, time to go night. Bye bye.
When it's lay flat, I can. Well,
no, in Spain you didn't.
In Spain, going there I couldn't, but coming home I slept.
Yeah.
So on Germany, we went coach this time, so it was more.
We were using
tired.
points and cheaped out, and it was fine. We survived.
But it was a little more aches and pains than if it would have been. But and so we got home by 5:30 on Sunday night. So it was a little bit tighter to then go to bed to then get up and see patients the next. Luckily, it wasn't a very heavy day, so it wasn't like I was doing surgeries and things. It was pretty much easy, so it was not too difficult.
100% worth it, though. If you get the chance to go to IDS, it's 100% worth it. The people that you meet.
It's all about the people. It's less about
the thing. Anytime we travel, it's always about the people. Mm-hmm. I love meeting people from all over the world. If you're an introvert, maybe it's not for you. Mm-hmm. I am an extrovert. I'm an introvert extrovert. Once I want to be alone, I want to be alone. But I do enjoy the social goings on. I loved getting to know Peter and Lisa and Keith and Phil and Simon and all those guys that I will make a point to go and visit them again because
at this point we want to go to see Wrexham play.
Yeah. I would go over there just to go to a rugby match or whatever, or just go to Stilton again.
Yeah.
Meet them all there so they can actually see Stilton because it's a place. But, we met a really great woman from Toronto who I actually would go visit because she lives not too far from the falls. And I've never been there and I would love to go there. So,
yeah. So I would do it again. It's every other odd year. It's far enough apart that if you try to do if it was every single year, you'd probably
I wouldn't do it.
We wouldn't be doing it that often. We probably end up doing it like every 4 years. But the fact that it's every other year, it's just far enough where it's like, okay, yeah, I make that.
I don't think I'd want to go in 2 years. I think I'd maybe want to go in 4 years because there's so many other things I want to do.
Right.
And there's so many other cool CE around the world.
Right.
That I would like to take advantage of something else.
Right.
But I would I liked how we did it. And I like the fact that we had a car. And I know a lot of people get nervous driving in a foreign country, but if you have a GPS, there's no difference between driving in America and driving there.
Yeah.
The words just look different.
Yeah. So as long as you program your GPS to be kilometers an hour and everything, it's...
And I also highly recommend learning what direction north is. That is, I just don't understand people who are like, I don't know what direction north is. What is wrong with you? Fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Because if you can figure out where north is and you know what direction you're supposed to be going, you can at least go in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Get where you got to be. Going a little early was great. Next time, the travel advice, I would say, try to, when you land in Europe, that's it. Don't connect in Europe because it's just going to complicate things. So if I would have done Chicago to Zurich, would have been way better.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's that. Try to add, I think it was great to do a little bit before IDS started. So we got, we left on Wednesday night. I think I probably would have left on a Saturday or a Sunday would have been enough for us to land in Strasbourg.
I probably would have flown out on Friday. And
to arrive Saturday.
Yeah. That would have probably been enough time. I don't honestly know because Zermatt didn't go how we thought it was going to go. And there was a lot of stuff that I actually wish we could have done that we couldn't have done because of the snow.
Yeah.
So,
well, like we were supposed to do the restaurant up at the gondola station where when you're done with your food, they give you a toboggan
to go back down
and ride down,
sled
down to get back to your hotel.
Like they have the ice museum. We didn't get to do the majority of stuff that we actually wanted to do in Zermatt because everything was closed for 2 days of the time we were there. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit weird. So I don't actually know if I would have left differently had I been able to experience it correctly.
Yeah.
But
hard to say. But
yeah,
I've done it where I was there just for the IDS and it felt rushed and I
don't think I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Having those extra couple days, I don't think
at the same time, if it meant I go and I'm only there for the weekend, then I'd do it. If it was a deal breaker, fine, then I just don't go. It's still worth going.
Like we talked about going now to a Wrexham game and going to see Lisa and Peter and Keith. And we're not going to be able to take a week and a half off or something like that. We don't have the time in the year. So I'm like, I would be content with flying out on a Wednesday night, going to a Friday night game and leaving on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. I think that's the way it's going to happen. And that doesn't disrupt our schedule hardly at all. Either we're starting late on Monday or we take Monday off.
And then we just pick up Thursday.
So that's probably the way we'll end up making it happen.
But
a lot of people won't travel that far for that short amount of time though. And too bad.
I'm not one to look and experience and just walk away. Yeah. I would much rather take the experience and be a little bit tired for a little bit and, have that experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, IDS thought it was amazing. GC America, they were amazing. Strawman was amazing. Mm-hmm. We went to their parties and we went to, watch their speakers. And it was really, it was an interesting, much better than like the Washington Dental, whatever the fuck it's called.
Our local, that's the thing is a lot of people locally that don't ever take CE out of state, they're excited when they have the state meeting and the state exhibitor fair. And I'm like,
well, they have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah. Because even Chicago Midwinter makes the local one
look
silly.
Ridiculous.
And the IDS is basically Chicago Midwinter times 3.
On crack.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know, but I highly endorse.
So I know this was a long one. And if you don't like the travel stuff, sorry, fuck off.
Yeah.
So
next episode, we'll actually have advice again.
Yes, we'll come back to advice. But now you all know what we've been up to. And we're all caught up. So
on that note, for Holly Timmerman, this is Lance Timmerman.
Love you.
Peace.
the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn, till one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. Dreams I've had, and everyone a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in the dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here, and here it is, a red balloon. I think of you and let it go.
So I tell the swamp donkey to sack it before I give her a tonk in the tradesman's entrance and have a lick me yarbles.
Wow. You guys are on like a completely different level of swearing over here.